starting over in your 50s or 60s or 70s or 80s or 40s, 90s, 100. Starting over. That's what we're going to talk about today. Welcome to my colorful life after a gray divorce. My name's Regan, also known as the Easy Ex-Wife. And let's get into starting over. Should we call it starting over? Should we call it reinventing ourselves? If I think about it, I'm starting over in just parts of my life, not all of my life. I still have my beautiful children are a huge part of my life. Everything looks a little different now because they're older, but financially, I guess I'm starting over a little bit, but I still have my job as a personal trainer and nutritionist. Moving to a new city, that's definitely starting over. But I think I like it better talking about reinventing ourselves. So reinventing ourselves in midlife. Or maybe we look at it the way that, so many people look at the new year or springtime, a fresh start. We're making a fresh start. But what's the best way to go about doing that? I was listening to a life coach. I can't remember if it was a podcast or on TV, but I remember she started the whole conversation about starting over with taking a pause and trying to be really present where you are and not necessarily diving headfirst into a huge change. Now, for me, if you've watched, I think it was my first video, I talked about how, it took me about 10 years to make the decision to get a divorce. And my ex and I really worked on things, and I really did fight tooth and nail for our marriage. But in all that time, there was a lot of reflection, and there was a time for me. Oh, you guys, I forgot to turn my mic on. But you know what? I'm gonna keep going and just use the mic that's on my phone, and hopefully it sounds okay. Maybe it sounds better. So this can be a little test, but I don't wanna start over. Anyway, so going back to what I was saying, taking a pause. And there were a lot of times during my struggles where I did take a pause and I took those deep breaths and I thought about where my future would be if I stayed in the marriage and what my future would look like if I left the marriage. And I would have the pros and cons of both. And I knew it was time to really change things when the pros of leaving the marriage outweighed the cons. So I really do think that's an important first step, to just take a pause and think about where you are in the moment, and then also trying to imagine your future different ways. So this therapist did talk about the importance of taking a breath and reflecting back. So that's really important. So that way you're not going to make any sort of rash decision. And her analogy was, when you're driving and you come up to a four-way intersection, you don't just breeze right through. You stop, you look around, you navigate the situation before you proceed, and then you proceed with caution. Something's happening out there. Welcome to the big city. And then after taking that pause, you have to really think about, what do you need to do to make that big change? So the really big change for me, besides the divorce, was I was planning to move out of our small town in Park City, Utah, and move to Manhattan. One, to be closer to my mom, and the other just to experience something new and make what was going to be, such a difficult time in my life a little bit more exciting. But in order for me to do that, I had to put a lot of things into place. It was a really difficult decision, packing up and moving across the country and finding my adorable little apartment that I absolutely love, decorating the whole thing. There were a lot of things that had to fall into place first. So you can't just make a rash decision. It is something you have to think long and hard about. And you might have some of those people in your lives that just want to see you happy. So if you're, married and unhappy, they're going to want to just see you move on and be happy. Or they're going to want to see you and your partner work things out so that you're able to be happy. But you can't let all that outside noise influence what could be the biggest decision of your life. And one thing I really did learn is that you have to be patient with yourself. These decisions do not happen overnight. And the more people I talk to about this, the more people who leave me messages. I'm not the only one that took 10 years to decide, whether or not to stay or leave my marriage. It was a lot of back and forth, and it's like a roller coaster ride of emotions and hormones flying, dopamine, cortisol. It takes a lot, but eventually, if you take note of what's working, what's not working, and when you realize that, your mental health might ride on this decision, you do want to make a decision as fast as possible. But again, you have to be patient and feel all the feels. And, most times getting some counseling or therapy or some sort of help with your decision is a great idea. And this podcaster was saying that sometimes you have to just halt and ask yourself, this is what HALT stands for. Are you happy? Are you angry? Are you upset? Are you lonely? Are you tired? Are you a couple of those things? Are you all of those things? And when you're going through a divorce, you will be all of those things. And like I said, the roller coaster ride. And unfortunately, happy might be the emotion that you feel the least. And that really just goes back to feeling the feels and acknowledging the emotion that you are feeling at the time. And it can be more than one of those emotions, but you just want to halt, feel the feels, and ride it out and not suppress those feelings at all. She also stressed the importance of reflection, but not hanging out in reflection too much. So basically, reflecting on your situation, but not dwelling on it. So she talked about accepting and releasing that emotion. And then also she used the analogy of, if someone just drank a cup of coffee and then you poured some water into that coffee mug and drank it without cleaning it out first, you would taste some of that coffee. So there would be residual coffee on that glass or that mug. And so she talked about just cleaning out the filter. So acknowledging the emotions and then releasing them. And then a lot of times once you do that, you'll see what exactly is standing in your way. For me, the thing that was standing in my way was I was scared. I was scared of being alone in my 50s. I was scared of moving to a new city and not knowing anyone. I was scared of my mom getting older, so I was more scared of not getting closer to her as she has been getting older. I was afraid of managing my finances, and I had to hire someone to help me do that. I was afraid of, so many things. I was afraid of being farther from my kids and not seeing them as often, which, by the way, I see them a lot, and the time that we do have together is such great quality time that I have no guilt over that anymore. But there was such a long laundry list of things, like also things as simple as, like decorating the apartment seemed overwhelming. I was really excited to decorate the apartment exactly the way I wanted to, because I didn't really have a say in how we decorated our homes, my ex and I. And I do remember he used to make fun of, like if I brought a new pillow home. I love pillows. So when I got this apartment, I was like, bring on the pillows. They're everywhere. Look at this. I mean, Fiona clearly loves the pillows and the throw blankets. So that's something I was really excited about. But then I also thought like, oh, setting up cable. I mean, I know people don't really set up cable anymore. I had to learn about figuring out how to stream everything. I purchased my first TV ever. I had never bought a TV for myself. When I was out of college or had roommates, someone else always had a TV that they either brought from home or, I have a hair stuck on my lips. I never bought a TV. So I'm not sure if I bought the right TV, but it works. And I'm not a huge watcher of TV anyway. So yeah, all those little things, but they were things that I did think about. And there were a lot of things that kept me from moving forward and being scared of all these things. That was the number one reason for me to always kind of take a step back and see if we could work things out instead, because the other side seemed so hard. But I'm so proud of myself for going there and just diving in headfirst when it was time. After I did all the other stuff and felt all the feels, I dove in headfirst, and I'm so happy I did. And one thing she did mention is that, everyone's starting point will be different. I mean, if you're still married and you've been thinking about getting divorced for 12 years or 15 years or 20 years, so longer than me, that's okay. Or maybe you've only been married for 5 years or you've been thinking about divorce for 5 years. That's okay too. Everyone's starting point will be different. There's my tea. I miss not having my tea and talking to you guys. I ran out when I started this video, so I'm gonna grab that. I'll be right back. Cheers. I don't know about you guys, but I just love holding a hot cup of tea. This is clearly way too hot to drink right now, but this for sure is one of the small pleasures. People will talk about being grateful or keeping a joy journal, and I'm not that good about writing the things down, but I try to really be grateful for some of the small things. And even when we roll into spring and summer, you're gonna see me holding my cup, and this just really truly brings me joy. And I don't know if you noticed, but this is such a great mug. I bought it in the summer, and I bought a couple for my kids, because on the bottom it says love and happiness from New York City 2024, and when you drink it, it also says love and happiness from NYC on the inside of the cup. So, and it's got like this adorable gold handle. This came from Anthropology, so I will definitely be checking back next year and buying some more of these. They had them in all different cities, and it's so cute. But now this is a little too hot, so I am going to put it down and move on to what we were talking about. Where did I stop? Oh, so I was talking about everyone's time frame being a little bit different, and that's okay. But one thing to keep telling yourself, no matter where you are in this journey, is that sacrifice brings reward. And it took me some time to really realize that. But it's so true. Sacrifice brings reward. So you have to ask yourself, like, what tools you will need What kind of sacrifice will you be making? And she talked about being a sponge. You know, for a sponge to soak up the mess, it's got to be saturated. So you saturate that sponge with all those feelings, all those thoughts, all those things you want to do, and then it will help wipe out whatever mess was created. For me, my mess was not that I had a messy divorce, but divorce was the mess. And I had to do that before I was able to get any sort of reward. So first was the sacrifice, and then came the reward. And the reward for me is starting over, what this whole video is about. And she also talked about the importance of affirmations. And I do truly believe, I'm not a super woo-woo person, but I do believe that what you think about the most comes to fruition. So I do try to spin everything in a positive way. When it comes to my career, I think about where I want to be going, how I'm going to get there, and know that I will get there, whatever that may be. And, you know, it's the same thing you can do with divorce and moving on and starting over. You think about the steps to get there, but you have to see yourself on the other side and in a really, really positive light. And the best way to do that is with affirmations. So affirmations are just positive thoughts that then become your reality. You have to remember that at any given moment, you have the power within you to choose well. You are also worthy and you deserve the best. These are examples of positive affirmations. So if your thoughts are playing the storyline of what's happening in your life and shining a negative light on the whole situation, then it's gonna be harder to turn it into a positive situation. So, you know, so having those affirmations and being really positive and trying to put everything in a positive light really, really helps. I know it's so much easier for me to say now, after years and so many nights of crying on the bathroom floor, but I'm getting through it. I'm starting over. I'm reinventing myself. And if I can do it, you can do it. I know you can. I am here for you. I would love to hear in the comments below what has worked for you. And yes, we're reinventing ourselves and starting over, and it can actually be really, really fun. So thank you so much for joining me today. I love you guys. I wish you all the best, and I will see you in a week. Bye. There's my girl. Okay, and my tea, still a little bit hot. Ooh, that's good. I will see you guys next time. Cheers from New York.